gentlemen, this is the Conduit. Glad that you can join us today. It is 24 degrees outside. It is snowy. It is icy. Please stay indoors. If you don't have to go out, I know that the holiday is upon us, but please be careful. Give a lot of room in front of the vehicle in front of you. Do not be in a hurry and just know that this ice is not melting and you may not be able to see all the ice. That being said, the severe weather shelters will be open again this evening. Folks can call 211 or 360-373-3000 to set up a ride. If you see anyone that is unhoused while you are out and about, please pass that information on to them because we do not want anyone outside in these temperatures. Okay, very, very, very important. The shelters that are open: Silverdale United Methodist Church in Silverdale, Gateway Fellowship out in Postville, Village Green Community Center in Kingston, and the Port Orchard Methodist Church. And again, just dial 211 or 360-373-3000, and we will get you to the severe weather shelter. Okay, with that said, we have our special guest who is returning to us again, Dr. Gib Morrow from Kitsap Public Health District. So let's go ahead and give him a round of applause. How you doing, Doc?
Good morning. Yeah, I'm doing great, Marwan. Love your Christmas tree.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Of course, it has to be purple, right?
Of course. Not sure why, but of course. I agree entirely.
Well, because everything is purple. See, my couch is purple. My lights are purple. My tie is purple. I always have purple on. I'm on brand.
I hadn't realized that about you, but does that mean you're a UW guy?
No, I'm not. I actually went to Old Dominion University. I'm a monarch. the mighty monarchs. But anyway, I'm so glad that you can join us today. Haven't seen you in a while. Not on the Conduit, but I have seen you at meetings, and so that's great. Of course, it's so interesting. Someone was reminding me that it seems like it is the same time every year now that I get COVID, and you happen to come onto the Conduit when I have COVID. So, Doc, I have COVID again. Unfortunately.
I'm sorry to hear that, Marwan. You don't look like you have COVID. You look good. So, that's probably what happens when you've already had it 5 times or 3 times or
3 times. But, I'm vaccinated,
times.
I'm boosted, which has helped. But I did have some questions for you about that. And one of the reasons why I really wanted you to come on was there seems to be this triple threat, right? I mean, COVID is kind of whipping up. We've got flu season and then RSV, which I hadn't really heard of before, but is pretty prevalent, nationwide and here locally. And, some of our, people that work in this sector with us, had some pretty severe issues with one of their family members. And it's just really concerning. So I wanted you to kind of come on and speak to that and, give me an update on how I could best take care of myself and, others who also get COVID.
Yeah, RSV's been around forever, at least forever as far as I'm concerned, and it's been a pediatric disease. Typically, has that seasonal spike, typically winter months. Causes a lot of runny nose, congestion. The usual sniffly nose kid stuff. And what's interesting to me is that about all kids get it by the time they're 2 or 3 years old, meaning that it just comes through and we get it and we bear with it and we move on and then we get it again the next year. But if you go a few years without having had it, or if your immune system just hasn't kind of been primed, or if your immune system isn't working all that particularly well, maybe from some other recent infection like COVID, people tend to get a lot sicker. So we had that big spike that really probably peaked about a month ago, and that was uh, really a concerning issue for kids getting sick, and kids were getting more sick, and more of them were getting sicker, and that really put a burden on our healthcare partners, and pediatricians' offices were busting at the seams, and pediatric emergency departments were as well. There are only about 500 pediatric hospital beds in the whole state, and there's only really 4 hospitals that are considered
Wow.
pediatric type hospitals, and they filled up. And when that happens, we get nervous in the public health world, and for a lot of reasons, it's a big issue. So. I think the good news is that it seems to be turning a corner and maybe dropping off. Hopefully, it'll be uh, going down the ski slope of the epi curve thing, and tailing away to nothing. We don't know. I mean, it may bounce around at kind of high levels and may go back up. Nobody's got that crystal ball. But that's one of the 3 circulating viruses right now. The other 2 being, of course, COVID, which is probably circulating through your nose. And to the extent that you can, keep your own reproduction number, we call it, down to 0, not give it to any other human beings. Always grateful for that. Yeah, just if you get it, don't give it, right? I mean, let it that particular variant that you happen to carry just die with the end of its infection and be gone, and not passed on to others. But of course, there's COVID and also influenza, and mostly what's going around right now is influenza A. That's the one that typically causes the more significant flu infections, and we've seen a lot of it already in Kitsap. We don't try to count all the cases of influenza the way we did with COVID, for example, back when. But what we do is we monitor the number of positive lab tests coming in from a variety of different hospitals and emergency departments and urgent care centers and clinics. And we also keep tabs on the percent of hospital admissions that are related to an influenza-like illness, or the number of people showing up in an emergency department with flu-like symptoms. And that really has been going up, up, up. The trajectory of that incline in cases may, we hope, be flattening out a little bit. But it's been a rough flu season, and people haven't really been getting their flu shots this year quite to the extent that they have in prior years. That probably just has to do with vaccine fatigue in general. People feel like they've been running in and out of pharmacies and doctors' offices and vaccination clinics, and just getting a lot of shots. And I think people are with very reasonable reasons, getting tired of that. But it is not too late to get your flu shot this year. The flu vaccine is a good match for what's going around. People are getting sick. I think there have been 9 or 10,000 deaths related to influenza already this year nationwide.
Is that a
We may have.
spike, Doc?
Sorry?
Is that a spike? Is that a spike? The 9 to 10,000 already this year?
Yeah, actually, it's quite a bit higher than it has been at any point in the last decade. So,
Wow.
about 3 weeks ago on the CDC website, we were really aware that there was a big increase in hospitalizations for the corresponding weeks over the prior decade. Hospitalizations were at about tenfold higher than they had been at any point in the last decade. So, beginning,
Wow.
back 2010 or thereabouts, we just haven't seen this much early flu. And typically, flu will peak in about February or thereabouts. So, we're concerned that it's still going to keep going. We haven't even got into Christmas, or Hanukkah just started. We got New Year's coming up, a lot of year-end gatherings, and I think that's when things get spread around, as they do with travel and the other things that come along with just getting together at this time of year, which is important for people to do. Uh, but we'll see more flu-like illness, I suspect.
So let me go back to the RSV, because like I said, it's kind of new to me. So is this only a virus that kids get, or can adults get RSV?
It's really traditionally been a disease of kids, although adults do get it. We typically haven't tested adults for it in the past. It, like all illnesses, tends, or certainly infectious illnesses, anyways, it tends to hit folks hardest at those two ends of life. So the newborns and the really little kids, the infants, and the folks that are quite a bit older. Um, we, like I say, didn't typically test adults for it in the past. I mean, you show up in the office, you got an obvious viral runny nose kind of disease. We would say you don't need antibiotics because we want to reserve those for bacterial infections where they actually work and are necessary, and not use them indiscriminately for viral illnesses. And there really hasn't been a particularly good medical treatment, a pill or even an injectable for a lot of these sort of seasonal runny nose type diseases. But what we're learning this year, because a lot of the testing has improved, and that is probably something that comes along and is a outfall of the whole COVID pandemic. Doctors' offices are using what they call multiplex tests, which may test for flu, RSV, COVID all on the same basic lab panel. And so,
Oh, nice.
yes, we are seeing RSV in some older folks, and some of them are getting sick with it, sick enough to be in the hospital. But again, we're not. It's not really what we would call a notifiable condition, so we don't ask doctors' offices to let us know every time they diagnose it. But there are a variety of ways of tracking how frequently it's showing up and how common it is at any point in time. The UW Virology Lab will gather specimens from a lot of different hospitals and clinics around the region, and then they will post those results. And so we can see when it kind of is spiking up and when it may be flattening off or even tapering off a little bit. Yeah, we can all get it. It may just show up as a runny nose or the sniffles for a few days, which is probably what's going to happen to the most of us adults who have probably had it a time or two, if not annually, for our entire lives.
Well, let me ask you this, Doc. For those of us that are caring for, little ones or elders who might be susceptible to RSV, can someone get RSV and COVID and or flu simultaneously?
Yes, absolutely. We've seen a variety of different what we call co-infections: flu and influenza, flu and RSV. Um, I don't know if we've seen all three of those at the same time at Kitsap, that we don't have any way of really tracking that at the public health level right now. We could uh, check in with some docs. I've certainly heard of a variety of folks that have had at least a couple infections at the same time. And there's an
Two of the
interesting
three.
phenomenon as well that we have learned about with measles, which is called immune amnesia. So if somebody gets measles, the actual measles disease, and this doesn't appear to happen with the vaccines, just with the disease. And with measles, the vaccines are so effective that you'll typically have antibodies that persist throughout your entire life from that series you got as a kid, and they offer really good protection, lifelong protection. So measles is really highly preventable with vaccines. But if an unvaccinated person gets measles, it appears to really do a number on the entire immune system, and a lot of um, our immune system is based on having previously had experience fighting off some different bug or pathogen or bacteria or virus or fungus or whatever. And with that immune amnesia that occurs after measles, those antibodies drop off. A lot of those inflammatory um, uh, byproducts of our immune system don't get revved up the way they typically would, and people are more susceptible to a variety of other infections. We really don't know if that same phenomenon happens with COVID, but it might, and we're still learning more and more and more about it. It has just been a disease that's really ramped up our understanding and our response and our capabilities of managing so many other different sorts of things. It's been an eye opener in just a million different ways. But in answer to your question, yes, people can get a couple things at once, and if they do, they'll probably get sicker than they would if they just had one.
If they just had the one. Yeah, for sure. If you're just joining us and I see some more people coming in, this is our conversation with Dr. Gib Morrow from Kitsap Public Health District. Always good to have the good doctor with us today. Let me switch back to COVID. So, of course, like I said, this is the third time that I have it. It's the mildest that I've had it. You know, I had aches and pains. I had the fever and the sweats the first day, and then since it's just been a cough and fatigue, and that's really all that I've had, and a little slight headache. I'll get headaches, that'll last like 5 to 10 minutes, a few times a day, and that's been it. So I'm super thankful because it wasn't like the first time you were on, and I had COVID. But folks have been sharing with me. Well, one my first question is this: so CDC is still advising 5 days isolation, and then you should be good to kind of resume doing what you do.
That's
That's
correct.
correct? Okay.
Yeah. Ideally, you'd wear a mask for 5 days after that first 5 days. Uh, it just, and really the reason for wearing that mask is what we call source control. I mean, if you do still have a couple viral particles, live ones that are, just kind of clinging to life there at the end of your immune system doing its immune system work, you don't want to spread those around. But anyway, that those masks for source control do help keep virus out of the air and keep it from getting into other people's bodies and systems. So, but
Good.
yes, five
So
days.
so tell me, so when does that 5 days start? Because I'm always confused about that. Like I know what day I got COVID. I do. I was at my daughter's gymnastics event, and there were folks that were visibly sick. They were having a conversation about it, and boom. But does the 5 days start from the day that I know that I got it, if I know, or from the day that I test?
From the day you know you got it. So if you had a just a abrupt onset, shaking chills and cough and runny nose, that's onset. That's kind of day zero, and day one is the next day, and then 5 days later you're hopefully feeling better. If you're still significantly sick or running a fever at all, you want to keep isolating. There's nothing magic about 5 days. It on the whole is probably enough at this point with all the immunity that we've got to keep everybody else safe. But again, if you're feeling back to normal and ready to get back out, you can do that. It just be a little extra careful for the subsequent 5 days. Just keep a little bit of extra space. I mean, don't go to the big loud Christmas party where everybody's having to yell in each other's ears.
Good to see you. Give me a hug. Yeah, so for me, it's interesting. So that the gymnastics event was on a Sunday, and then Wednesday is when I fell off a cliff. I was fine. And then Wednesday, all of a sudden, I was like, "What is going on?" And it literally felt like a switch. But my
Mm.
5 days starts from Wednesday when I started having those symptoms.
How was
All
the
right.
gymnastics? How was the gymnastics event?
Oh, it was good. One of her highest scores, I think, was a 94. Was it a 94? Yeah, she's loving it. So she's just now doing competition this year. So it's like, "Oh, go here to Kent and go over here," and yeah, she's been doing it for a number of years, and this is her first year in competition. So starting to learn the lingo and things of that nature because it's like past fun now. So, on the beams, and
It's
her floor routine is what she got the highest scores in.
it's amazing what those athletes can do, isn't it?
Mhm. Oh, man, her backflips, I've never been able to do that. I've always been too terrified to flip back, but yeah, she's fearless. She's awesome. So let me ask you about, in regards to COVID, some folks were sharing with me that there was something that I could take as soon as the onset of COVID happened. Like, what is that called? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, there's an antiviral pill that's called Paxlovid that is available. The federal government's paying for it. There are a variety of different ways that you can get it. So if you get sick, check in with your doc and see if you'd be a good candidate for it. There are a few things that warrant a quick discussion. There's some medications that might interact, and you want to obviously not take anything you don't really need, but it can certainly shorten the course a little bit, keep folks out of the hospital. It still appears to work against these newer Omicron variants. Although some of the monoclonal antibodies don't really work against them anymore, there has been enough mutation that's occurred that some of the prior things that we were using back during the delta wave or the beta or the alpha or whatever, those are no longer all that are no longer beneficial and actually aren't being used anymore. But that
Oh,
oral
gotcha.
pill still does work, and the vaccines still work. So even though there have been enough mutations that they that the vaccines, um, you know, might be evaded somewhat by these viruses. The CDC just put out a report, I think, just yesterday or maybe a couple of days ago, showing that they still work and reduce the risk of severe infection, hospitalization, death by about 50%. So that's good. I mean, if anything you can do to cut your risk of dying in half is still worth doing. So again, many folks haven't gone and got those newest, what are called bivalent or the updated boosters.
Mhm.
And if you haven't, you should.
So can we
I
talk about that, Doc? Can we
sure.
talk about the bivalent? And the reason why I wanted to go into that, and I'm so glad that you're on, because I haven't received my booster this year. And my concern was, the things that I was listening to in regards to, hey, Omicron and some of the other variants, now it's kind of outdated. So the booster wouldn't really be effective to that. Now you're saying that the CDC just came out with a report saying that it could be good. So can you just speak a little bit more to that? Because even me, who you know, seeking this information out is like, yeah, I think maybe I should hold off because I don't think the booster is really gonna attack this new variant that's out there. So do I want to inject myself with this, just for the sake of, taking medicine? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, it does still work, and it's beneficial, and it's safe, and it's worth doing for the folks that haven't had it yet. So again, we do really encourage that. Pretty much anybody 6 years of age and or sorry, 6 months of age and older is good to go with getting those boosters. So I think given the fact that you are currently fighting COVID, I think it's reasonable to wait a few months before you get yours at this point, but put it on your to-do list still, Marwan. And yeah, I mean, you might not have even gotten sick, or you might not have gotten as sick. Yeah, but I'm glad you're doing so well.
But I should go and get my flu shot.
No, if you haven't got your flu shot, absolutely, yeah, go get it yesterday.
All right, I will definitely do that. Normally, I already would have received my flu shot. I just it's been so busy, and then the snow hit, and you know, well, and then I got COVID, so it's like, well, I'm already feeling bad now, you know. But I don't even need to wait. You're saying just go on and get it.
Well, actually, wait until you're done with your COVID and then go get it. And don't get it yesterday because, first of all, it's too late, and second of all, you would have been infectious then. We don't need you giving COVID to, your the nurse is giving you a flu shot.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So, there's aside from RSV and flu and COVID, there's so many things that are going on with Kitsap Public Health. Do you want to kind of update us with what's kind of the latest and greatest? Maybe reflect on 22 and where you're going for 23.
Yeah, no, I thank you for that. I really appreciate that. We've just got a wonderful team of people over at the health district, and they're dedicated and they're smart and they're committed. They just bring this incredible amount of positive energy and initiative to work every day. It's crazy to think how busy these last few years have been. Really, it was just last year, right? I think the day after Thanksgiving when we first heard about Omicron, right? And we thought we were all out of the woods and that people were getting vaccinated. The Delta wave had really kind of clobbered folks back in August and September and October. And then the next thing you know, we're all feeling fine and dandy. And then you hear about this Omicron. And about this time last year, things were in rough shape. And I remember it was just right after New Year that our hospitals were in kind of crisis mode. They had stopped doing elective surgical procedures, anything that wasn't any kind of non-urgent care that they weren't able to provide, and primarily that was because healthcare workers were falling ill. They were getting sick. They were staying home, and that was happening in nursing homes. It was happening, in public health districts. It was happening certainly in hospitals and in clinics, and it's crazy to think that was just 12 months ago that we were dealing with that, and here we've kind of been dealing with it for the whole year. But the health district did a lot of work. I mean, we did our best to really kind of help manage all those different outbreaks in a lot of different settings. We helped get testing going again. We kept working to make sure that our dashboards and our information that we were promoting out to the public was accurate and credible. We were doing public education campaigns, and we were really trying to figure out ways that we could help support our health systems and help develop new partnerships. And Marwan, it's just been great that you've been part of that equity collaborative, and I've been so grateful for all of the folks that have invested their time and brought their perspectives to the table. It's really just been super beneficial. But this year we also started rebuilding some of the programs that just had been put on the back burner during that pandemic that just seemed like it went on and on and on forever. We were really trying to figure out how the best ways to notify residents about sewage spills and beach closures, and our environmental health teams were helping figure out how to manage waste from increasing numbers of unhoused people. We were getting the restaurants were full speed ahead, and we were working with them. Just a lot of new work going on, and at the same time, we were seeing a big spike in really complex tuberculosis cases, syphilis. Think about that. How crazy is that? That's just been going up, and we've been really trying to figure out where we need to double down and target our efforts and do the best job. But throughout all this, we've been able to recruit and have this new health board that just has really wonderful new representatives. We've got reps from the healthcare sector, community partners, people who have been consumers of public health services, and representative from each of the two tribes that are in Kitsap. So that's all really been fun to pull together. And at the same time, the health district is jumping into a reaccreditation process. So very few public health districts or departments are in the state are accredited through the Public Health Accreditation Board. But Kitsap Public Health
Oh,
District
really?
went and invested in that effort back in 2014, and we're overdue for going through that. And that's a good process, because what it does is really make sure that we are a high functioning organization. It really helps improve our internal systems in our processes. And at the same time, we're jumping into this new year, looking forward to doing a new strategic planning process, which is going to help inform us about our priorities and our strategies, still what we need to be doing, and if not, what shifts do we need to make. So it's been a lot of fun for me. It's just has been an interesting place to work. There's a lot of really great things going on, and really, again, one of those is going to be fully understanding how well our health system is working. What are its strengths, and what are the areas of maybe weakness, and what are all the different kinds of things that our community as a whole can do to get people the services that they need when they need them. And that's a tough one, because we've got a very private healthcare sector. It's driven by economics, and we need to figure out. There is no one kind of button you can push to make sure things are working perfectly. But we're really looking forward to a lot of these different community health assessments. So we've got, through our epidemiology teams, a lot of information about where are Kitsap residents doing well with regard to their health, and what are the areas that they're maybe not doing so great in, and why is that, and what can we potentially do to help people lead their healthiest lives. I mean, and we do know that there are barriers to accessing care, and we do know how valuable primary care services are. We've seen this issue that keeps coming up at the emergency department over at the hospital, where there are big, huge surges in volume that are very difficult for them to manage, and they're very unpredictable. And are there ways that we can kind of build out capacity across the community? I think, for example, we got some really great news from Mayor Greg Wheeler of Bremerton and the city council there, who have made the announcement that multi-care is going to be opening up a freestanding emergency department. I mean, I think that's just great. We need to have more capacity, more availability, more options, and that's true not only for emergency services, but it's really true for primary care and for obstetrical services. We need to have people that can get folks in for prenatal care. As soon as a woman's pregnant, she should go see an obstetrician or her family doc, and get the appropriate testing and plans underway for making sure that baby has everything they can to succeed and be maximally healthy. And we know how important that period is during pregnancy, and while that new baby is developing, in those first few years of life, really, really crucial. And that's where our paternal, sorry, our parent child health teams and our nurse family partnerships are really beneficial and just bring a lot of value to the community, working with first time younger moms to make sure that they are doing everything right and creating the best possible environment for their baby to come out healthy and be healthy throughout the course of their life. And kids that get a good start tend to be the ones that finish strong. And anyway, it's an interesting time in public health land. We got a lot of different really interesting work and challenges and just fantastic people. And our budget looks strong. We just passed a cyber security audit through our information
Oh,
technology
nice.
services. Yeah, we don't want to get hacked, I mean, and that's a big risk right now. I mean, we've seen
Yeah.
that locally, and it's a really concerning issue. But things are, knock on wood, in the health district seem to be going all right. I think it's going to be a busy and very interesting year for us in Kitsap.
What's interesting is if you go to the website for Kitsap Public Health and you look at the tabs, you'll see all the different things that are under the purview of Kitsap Public Health, and it's so varied and vast. It's pretty amazing. So, how do you? What is your strategy to try to maintain this whole thing? Because that's a lot, and it's a knowledge, skill, and ability that you know impart some of your wisdom on folks on how you do what you do effectively, so effectively.
Yeah, no, it's all about the people, just my from my perspective, we get the right people in the right jobs and unleash them, right?
Mhm.
Let them have at it, and they do some amazing things, and I can't take any credit for any of it, and I don't want to. And it's just as but I do think that. Distributing leadership is a good way to go, and
Mhm.
people are leaders like it in all these different areas, every step of the way. I mean, the nurses who are talking to through an interpreter to somebody with newly diagnosed tuberculosis who's new to our community and our country. They show me dedication and leadership. Those folks that are dealing with restaurants and safety inspections and on-site septic systems that may be failing. They do a lot of education, far more than enforcement. We, as you know, have invested in an equity program, and we're really trying to prioritize that work and making sure that that concept gets integrated into all of our programs and every little thing we do, because I do think that we want to make sure that everybody in the community has an equal opportunity to kind of live their most healthy life, and people that have been historically marginalized or discriminated against, whose finances aren't quite as solid as some of the rest of us. They're just fighting such an uphill battle. Then they do need some extra help. Nobody's gone through life on their own, and it's really important to acknowledge that we all do better when we all do better, right? And trying to support those who need a little bit more, and our our teams at the health district, I think, are really good in that regard, and they're really committed, and they're very compassionate people, and they're we just you know let them do their work and stay out of their way and not be a ball hog, and that's when things seem to work best for us.
Nice, nice. I was just speaking to city council and the mayor last night, and was telling them that hey, kids at public health and the work that Jessica Guidry is doing is a model that they should be looking at for this DE&I work, because you guys
Yeah.
are really doing it well. So, commend you for that, and like you said, for every little thing, pushing that in is important, and it's not easy, right? Because that's a culture change, that's a sea change, and that's gonna take time. But the fact that you guys are willing to roll up your sleeves and do that work is tremendously important. And I see you guys as leaders in the community is in regards to saying, "Hey, okay, we're willing to do this and invest in this."
Mhm.
I think that's pretty awesome. Well, I wanted to share something fun with you. I'm looking at your background. So you're home today, and it appears that you and I may have the same curio. Isn't that something?
Wait, the same what?
The, our furniture.
Oh, yeah, yeah, nice.
Isn't that
That's a
something
good.
else? Yeah, I was like,
Well,
that looks like.
one of the many reasons I really like you, Marwan. Yes. I, do you have kind of operation the operation game in your case
No,
beyond
so in mine, I make candles. You can't see it from this angle, but all my candle making material is in there. So my wax and my scents and my colors, my jars, my wicks, all that good stuff. So that's what I keep in there. Yeah, I saw your board games back there, which is pretty awesome. And I have two of them. So the other one is in Layla's room, and that has a little bit of everything in it. So yeah, that's pretty awesome. I was like, "Oh, I've never seen anyone else have that particular piece of furniture before." Like, it's exactly that's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool. Well, you know what? I know that, Kitsap Public Health started on a, weather delay today. I want you to leave this interview today with just, some words for folks to be safe during this icy time. It's 25 degrees. I think next week we should get a little bit higher in regards to temperature, but we probably haven't seen the end yet. This has come earlier. It's coming more often. So can you speak to some things that we can do to take care of ourselves, our pets, um, so that we can, make it through this tough time?
Yeah, no, it's the weather's been quite interesting. I mean, it's in many ways it's just beautiful, all that snow and having a little bit of a white pre-Christmas period is a good thing, but it has been cold. We've got a polar vortex that's hitting the whole entire country, and we saw that a year or so ago down in Texas. 250 people died, and um, those folks that are living on the street, I think, need to get inside. The county's done a great job of making those warm weather shelters open and available for folks. Uh, Having some way to kind of keep your pipes from freezing is important. Keep your heat up at levels that are going to be okay, and uh, make sure that they're insulated and really probably slipping on the ice and falling down, either breaking a hip or an elbow, is one of the more common risks. Certainly, the roads are icy. Just kind of slow down. Um, as always, eat right. Maintain your fitness. Exercise your brain. Try to connect with other people. We do know that the holidays can really be a rough time for folks, particularly if you're going through a rough period in your life. Those rough periods, we've all been through them. They do tend to resolve for the vast majority, but trying to reach out and make contact with people is always just really an important thing to do. And go easy on yourself. Uh, try to just show a little bit of extra grace and patience with not only the folks you bump into out there in the world, but with yourself as well. And again, for me, it's just always a pleasure to be able to talk with you, Marwan. Just the everything from the purple to the Christmas tree to the the applause, which I know wasn't canned in any way, shape, or form. You know, I really.
Everyone loves the applause. It makes everyone smile. They can't help it.
Can you hit that button one more time for me?
Tell you, it's a instant pick me up, and everyone needs an applause.
Yeah.
They really do. I think it's important. There's a lot of things that we're fighting in the world, and there's a lot of serious things, but it's important to smile. It's important to find joy and happiness in things. And I think, sometimes folks struggle when they're so far in the fight that they have to keep this armor on all the time, and they can't just let it go at all.
Mm.
And so it's important for me to be happy, to smile, and still do the work and champion these really bad things that happen in the world, but you've got to have a balance. And so I try to model that and just try to spread that to other people because it is tough out here.
Yeah, yeah. Smiling makes you happy. That's a good point.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate you coming on 3 days before Christmas. Are you working? Are you taking some time off?
I'm gonna take a little bit of time off. Yeah, I got family in town, and yeah, I'm looking forward to a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. And yeah,
Good. Well, I
I'll be available. But yeah, no, I really
well,
enjoyed talking to you, Marwan. And best wishes to you for the Christmas and the New Year and the holiday season. And looking forward to seeing you again in 2023.
that's right. Hopefully COVID free. So, that's my plan. No COVID in 23. That's the model. I'm gonna put it on the bottom of my emails. We'll see what happens. But I appreciate you, Doc. Appreciate everyone else out there that's watching today. Share this interview out. A lot of good information in here. A lot of answers to questions that you may have had yourself. And as always, you can check out the Kitsap Public Health website for more information. And I'll pop that up there really quick. And there's plenty of info there, so you don't have to go search around the internet. You know that it's a reputable source, which is really important. Get vaccinated, people. Stay safe. And for Dr. Gib Morrow, I am Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. We'll see you guys later. All right. Bye-bye now.